What is up, everyone? Welcome back to yet another video here inside the nerdy realm and the multiverse. The 4th episode of the Moon Knight series has premiered, and today we are going to give our thoughts and break down as much as we can for the 4th episode of the series, titled The Tomb. We got a ton of stuff in this episode, so if you have not seen it yet, this is your spoiler warning now. Once you have seen the episode for yourself, feel free to come back to this video. First, we are going to give our thoughts on the episode, and then we are going to try and explain some things that happened in it to the best of our ability, because there are some trippy things that not a lot of people will understand that happened in the episode. So let's begin giving our thoughts on the episode. This episode was so good. By far the craziest episode that we have gotten so far, and it had so much storytelling in it and some interesting reveals, as well as some hints at some things tying directly to the comics. The constant mystery, horror, action, and storytelling throughout this episode and the series as a whole have been paced so well so far, and I am loving it. The switches between Mark and Steven are so well done, and the relationship differences between Mark and Layla and Steven and Layla are really showing. While in the Tomb, we had some great dialogue between Arthur Harrow and Layla. Arthur tells Layla about what happened to her father, which led to some more great dialogue and an emotional scene between Layla and Mark. Once they've got what they needed in the Tomb, we see the confrontation that was bound to happen, and Mark gets shot and basically dies. From there, the episode and story gets taken to a whole nother level, and everything becomes super trippy. We are in a mental health institution type building of some kind, where we see tons of characters that have been seen throughout the series as patients or as nurses, whether they have been killed off or not. Obviously, we see people like Arthur Harrow basically as Mark's therapist. We also see a ton of Khonshu related stuff, such as drawings of him, the constant talk about lunar gods, as well as Mark having an action figure of Moon Knight himself. We see Mark breaking through the hallucination type of world he's in as he starts remembering what happened, meaning Arthur shooting him, and everything that was happening outside of what we are seeing now. We see him running away to try and escape, and this whole thing has a ton of scenes that are so similar to panels from the comic books. It's becoming pretty obvious that this series is based off of Lemire's 2016 Moon Knight comic book run for the most part, which is amazing, and they're doing a pretty good job at carrying that story over into live action. When Mark is running away and in the process of escaping, we see him going into this room where we see the sarcophagus shaking, and it's shown that Steven was inside, and the next scenes were great. Between Mark and Steven, Oscar Isaac's talent is really shining in the series. The episode ends as they are both walking towards the exit as we see another room with another sarcophagus shaking. They walk past it, and then the door opens and we see a hippo wave at them. Now let's get to explaining the major points of this episode that may be confusing or that many people may not know what's going on. With everything going on towards the end of the episode and how this series is clearly based off of the Lemire comics, this is about death and being reborn. The hippo at the end was actually Taweret, who is the Egyptian goddess of birth and fertility, which could really be hinting at the rebirth of Mark Spector, Stephen Grant, and Jake Lockley, who was in this episode basically, as he was in the other sarcophagus that we saw Mark and Steven pass in the hallway. Mark was shot and killed in this episode by Arthur Harrow, and we are about to see him be reborn. Whether it's connected to nothing or if it's Taweret that is going to help birth a new Mark. The whole death and rebirth storyline is very reminiscent of the comics, and it was a huge part of the Lemire run back in 2016. Hopefully that can give you an idea with what is going on right now and where we could be going with this series storyline. I feel like next episode we could be seeing some of the backstory behind Mark as the whole rebirth thing is going on as he is being reborn, as well as more stuff within the place that we are now at, with the finale obviously being the conclusion to this season or the series. I also want to point out another thing that happened in this episode. When Layla is confronting Mark about what happened with her father and is questioning him about how he died and if he killed him, Mark says that it wasn't him, but it was his partner who got greedy and killed everyone during the mission, including Mark, as Mark says he was shot too and was meant to die that day. Now this is obviously the night that Mark died and was resurrected by Khonshu to become Moon Knight, his avatar. As for who shot Mark and killed Layla's father, I have a huge feeling that this is a Moon Knight villain from the comics known as Bushmaster. Bushmaster is a pretty big part of Moon Knight's story in the comics, and there are some pretty dark and gritty things that happen when it comes to Moon Knight's interactions and stories that are between him him and Bushmaster. I highly recommend reading the Lemire comic run if you can. There is a book that has all of the issues in one, and I bet you could finish it in time for the 5th episode next week. It's a great story and it can really help you get a better idea of what's going on. I believe that's everything that can and should be touched on for this episode of Moon Knight. This series has been so impressive every single week and every single episode. I can definitely say now that it's been 4 episodes that this is by far my favorite series so far that's been a part of the Marvel series being released on Disney+. I am really hoping that we get a season 2 for this series. There are a ton of storylines that can be done and expanded on. We could even possibly see the Bushmaster storyline be expanded on in a 2nd season. Now, with all of that being said, let us know what you thought about the episode down in the comments below. And as always, if you are feeling extra nerdy today, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on to help support the channel and to get more nerdy content from us. If you wish to support us even further, feel free to check out our clothing and check us out on other platforms. Links in the description below. As I always say, thank you all for watching, and we will see you all the next time that we go through and explore the nerdy multiverse.